What's up, fam? I decided that with this ceremony, I'm going to start sharing trip reports afterwards, like this, completely unrehearsed, entirely improvised, coming from the raw and tender heart space that I am currently settling into merely hours after coming out of the journey. So, where to begin? Well, my intention was to go into a loving heart space yesterday. I wanted to reconnect with my love for myself, which is to say, the truth of myself, the peace and the stillness and the perfection that I am, that is so easy to lose track of, to forget in the day-to-day. This is generally why I love MDMA as a personal ritual, and even in relation with a significant other or small groups of friends. It just truly, predictably reminds you that you are love and that everything is quite perfect the way it is. So that was my overarching intention going into the journey yesterday. My more specific one, based upon the work I'm currently doing with the gene keys, which is the beginning of the Pearl sequence, which is the final of the 3 sequences focused specifically on how to create prosperity, which is not to be confused with wealth. Prosperity is simplicity. It's the essence of your genius that you can offer to the world that creates the abundance you need, specifically financially in wealth forms that you can share. And by sharing and giving, more comes. And I imagine there's some lesson in there about like understanding your capacity to hold certain amounts of wealth and to move and receive. Anyway, the first key there we're working with is our key of vocation, which is the key that we left on the Venus sequence, which was also the core wound. And the shadow of that key for me, and for those who aren't familiar with the gene keys, each key has a shadow, a gift, and a siddhi, which is the exalted state. So the shadow of my vocation key is disappointment. Disappointment, something related to that. See, so I gotta print this out to remind me. Something to do with just being like dissatisfied. It's dissatisfaction. So a beautiful shadow, because this shadow of dissatisfaction is what pushes all men to create solutions in the world to remove the stress that's caused from dissatisfaction. It's part of our life. We aren't meant to live in these human forms without dissatisfaction. At least it hasn't been so quite yet. So this is what pushes us to create something that removes the dissatisfaction on a global level. It's probably one of the most prevalent shadows that we're most in tune with. So once you're able to sit with that dissatisfaction, really get to the root of it, it transmutes into what's called the gift. And the gift here is that of satisfaction. Oh, particular labels are escaping me right now. Vitality. I should remember that was my specific intention. Vitality, which is to say life force, right? So when you're in a place where you're letting life move through you, where you're on purpose, you are vital, you are filled with life. And it pours like a river. I like this analogy of the river because the river is just pure life force. And you look at any bend, any arc of a river as a piece, and the water's flowing in and it's flowing out. At any certain time, it's got a certain container of a volume of its energy, but it flows through. It's vital, it's moving, it's gushing, it's alive, and it's not stagnant. It's the perfect analogy for life force, looking at that river. So I was like, yeah, I had this message coming through to me for like years now. Like, where's my vitality? Yeah, it comes in waves, bits and pieces, but largely I'm just like tired a lot. I feel more lethargic. I feel like it takes a great effort to bring in vitality. And with that, it's this constant reminder to slow down, which is another thing I love about MDMA. It brings you to the power of stillness and peace in one's heart. Less doing, more being, more knowing that it's all here. So I went in with that. And the stuff I work with is pharmaceutical grade MDMA. It's twice as strong as your common, really amazing moon rock, for example. So I took 111 of that, which equates to about 222 of any other really great moon rock out there. Big dose. I've done this about once before, a little less than that. Actually, I did it once before. I actually did 200 plus because I didn't know it was twice as strong. That was wild. So I did that, and I decided to do some LSD with it because I hadn't mixed those two in a long time. My mentor also works with that as a ceremonial offering, and I had the perfect opportunity to chat with him before going into ceremony yesterday. And I said I was thinking about it. He's like, it's a great idea. It really gives you answers. It gives you clear answers. And I thought it made sense to me because LSD is very visual. It's very tactile. And usually when I go into pure MDMA space, it's just largely feeling. Maybe some texture, some color. I don't see anything. This time I saw a lot. I felt way more than I usually do on just either of them alone. The experience was just profound. I had the perfect playlist set up. So after I took my medicine, I lied down, my blindfold on, onto my crash pad, launch pad, rocket ship, whatever you want to call it, my cradle. And there's something beautiful about my experiences these days. As big as they are, they don't come on strong like a shockwave. It's just so subtle. I think it has a lot to do with my ability to relax into these states, these causal, transpersonal realms I am so familiar with now. Death is of no import to me anymore. It's just a thing, It's happening around us all the time. But we have a particular label and definition of what death is. But when you're out there and you're feeling everything happening all at once, it's just part of the experience to feel like you're dying and living all at the same time for hours on end is basically what I was going through. And because of the MDMA, largely in a space of fearlessness and love. So observing all these images and these feelings with complete equanimity. And the little point that came in is like, dude, what the fuck? Did you do too much this time? Are you going to come back? Sometimes that comes back to me, that thought, but it doesn't linger. I'm like, whatever. And what really gets me through it is like, I know I'm safe. In fact, when I felt that coming on, it was really big. I said, Anchor, you are safe to have this experience, because I honestly had never felt like I went into a journey that deep alone. I trusted myself. I trust you to have this journey is what I told myself. And that's when things took off. Words are very powerful in these states, what you say for sure. So I went in, and it was essentially like having this experience of the source of all life in creation, noticing that I'm observing it through what is still a very active filter of my mind, because LSD really kind of brings your subconscious perspective of your mind as the filter to experience life, right? So I believe that with the LSD, there is still an element of my personal mental experience coming into play, because if I was truly just experiencing life which is to me love and consciousness, I wouldn't be having any visuals at all. So I was choosing to engage with the subconscious material of the mental plane by adding some LSD to it. So essentially what that means is everything I was seeing, I was just noticing, oh, this is just a wild, rapid fire mosaic of life as I know it, constantly being born and destroyed before my eyes from pure energy. It was amazing to still feel my essence in life there and to have a semblance of me, knowing that here I am, no body, no time, no space, no breath, no heartbeat, just energy. So that went on for a little while, and I got to enjoy the experiencing life, like the card that I pulled. And at one point, I let myself cry a bit. My playlist took a turn into sadder music, and that was necessary. I grieved for my mother, the pain that she's been through. Stories I've yet to share fully, but there's some depth there. There's a strength of character in that woman that I had not known until recently. And it makes all the pain and suffering I've ever gone through feel so small. I'm so lucky to have her and to live on with her, carry her with me in my heart. And I apologize for all that I've hurt, and these words came true from the heart. It's like in these spaces you don't choose the words, they just simply come out of your mouth perfectly, reverently, arms raised to the sky. I am sorry. I am sorry as I weep the tears of not only me, but my ancestors. And let's be clear, I put up strong circles of protection around this home. I don't take my preparation lightly. I saged every corner of this house. I barred the doors with my sigil. I put a circle of protection around the land. So I know that everything that came up for me that was challenging was my own material, which is to say, this life, then epigenetically, my family and my ancestors. And fuck, there's a lot to work with there without worrying about outside entities. I have enough attached to this form for a lifetime or two. Good shit. And then at another point, shortly after that, I decided I'm going to open my eyes for a bit. And I looked out the window where I was sitting. And I just saw the majesty of this jungle mountain that's in my backyard that I love and I see and I appreciate daily, many times a day. And this time I just looked at it in awe. And seeing this mass of life so perfectly in balance and singing to me. My eyes just wide and fixated. It just pulled me out of the bed. And there I'm on all fours on my bed, my other bed, looking out the window, just like mouth agape, taking it in. And then I walked outside and put my hands and feet on the earth and just felt so connected to this land. So sure of why I'm here. Because this is a land that supports who I am and what I do. I cannot be somewhere that is any less vital than this. And let's be clear, the land in the West, predominantly not vital land. You can make escapes of some pieces that are, but overall, it's dead. Let that sink in. So, the music still continued to be somber. At one point, I'm like, I don't need any more of this. I don't need any more of this at all. Like, I want more joy. And I got up and I engaged the playlist and I shuffled some things around. And then as soon as the music changed, I felt better. I was moving, and that's when it hit me. Vitality is a choice. It's a choice. Like, yes, there are some external factors that make a difference. You know, you can set an alarm to get up at a certain point or to go to sleep at a certain point. You can choose the foods. You choose the alarm. You choose the habits. It's a series of choices. But more specifically, what I got at was like, at any given moment, I can choose to feel alive and feel energized and let my environment inspire me. Let the music flow through me with the energy. Let me breathe in and summon the strength of myself and my ancestors and the spirits that support me at any given moment. I'm feeling inspired by that vitality right now. I can still feel those moments where I just stopped and said, now. Alive in me. No excuses. That's what I want to carry through. It's going to be a deep lesson to integrate. I'm sure a lot of practice to continue to conjure that. But it's a choice. A choice on the orderly, structured, creating habits and routines level, and in the now. At any moment. Just choosing it, feeling it, summoning it from your DNA, your birthright, the change state, to be attuned with life and love, to entrain yourself to that vibration, which is our birthright. It's where we harmoniously vibrate. And that's why this work is what I do. Some people will be all nihilist about it. It's like, why do you even bother going into ceremony? All this work, going to these challenging transpersonal cosmic spaces. Well, you know what? Because the overarching pattern is that I feel love. I feel connection. I feel life. I feel vitality. I become more empathic. And why do I consider these good things? Because they feel good. Because they feel good. Because they create deep connections with nature and my fellow man. Because they dissolve feelings of hatred, shame, judgment, guilt. What more could we ask for? I'm not trying to make this axiomatic. This isn't good, bad, right or wrong. The feeling of love in all these ways. Who wouldn't want that? I believe that's what pulls us through life and time. Is this seeking of love, which shows up in many ways. And I have found no path, no vocation that more readily provides powerful experiences of love than this. And that's why I pursue it at all costs. That's why I let my life fall apart and build back up time and time again. Because it's going to get me closer to serving in a way where I can offer these experiences to other men. So be it. That's my calling. And the civic state of my vocation key is bliss, right? Which is perfect because MDMA is a medicine I love to work with most, especially with the healing of men's hearts. And you experience bliss there. Now, the civic state is not one easily attainable in waking life, but with these medicines, these tools, we get to experience that. And when you feel that, you can anchor it into your DNA. You can remember. The body remembers at a cellular level everything that happens. So that experience of vitality I had in my blood, at my beck and call to conjure back into existence at any moment. That's the power of all of this. You don't need a computer. We are computers. Infinite memory. So, boy. Well, I do have a couple more things to add, even though this video is getting kind of long. I imagine it's pretty entertaining. At one point when things were a little challenging, when things are getting really deep and heavy, I decided to take a little ketamine, to take the not just take the edge off, but to give me a more objective experience of these more challenging and sad emotions, because there's some power in that. And I'm very curious about these deeper spaces with ketamine. I've been doing a lot of coaching with people going through ketamine infusions, more than not as their first psychedelic experience. And they are making great strides in their healing. Mostly part two, that look I just made at the end there was me seeing my phone shut down because it didn't have much power left. So mostly as their first experience going into a psychedelic realm. They go through about 6 infusions in the course of like 4 to 6 weeks. I give them an integration call in the beginning before they go in, which is the preparation call, and integration usually after each infusion. And it's just amazing in a clinical, intentional healing setting, the power of ketamine to transform stories around deeply set anxiety and depression that has been with them for years. And these are largely young adults, at least the ones I work with, ranging from early 20s to like mid 30s. Out of most of the clients I've had, and I'm coming up to about mid 20s now, the past few months, most of them make great strides in their healing. They, in fact, get past the point of achieving their goals, of feeling connected, of feeling joy, of feeling trust, which is the feeling goal on the other side of I don't want to be anxious and depressed. They get past that and they're making new goals. Oh, I want to learn breath work. I want to open a family business. I want to start playing music again, being more creative. That's amazing progress for any psychedelic or plant medicine. So, as part of my work, I like to stay in the know with the medicines I work with, and I work with people who are giving ketamine more often than any other medicine right now. So, yeah. That took things for quite a turn for me, in fact. And it didn't quite make things easier, honestly. It took things far deeper. In fact, I think it's what catalyzed that whole few hours of life, death on repeat with full love. When I went into that experience, it was still light out. I have everything neatly arranged around my crash pad, a jug of coconut water, some essential oils, a notebook, some coconut oil. And when I came to, it was dark. There was a spill, a mess of water and oil over the floor, a towel. I somehow got up and got a towel and attempted to clean it. That towel wasn't there at first. And I just thought to myself, in all my years of experimenting with substance, particularly in college when I drank quite a bit, I never had a blackout experience. Something happened here, like I wasn't blacked out, but I was so in the other realms. When I came back, I hadn't any recognition of doing something here in like the 3D realm. When usually shifts happen in like my space, I'm aware of like a point where I came to, did some stuff, and then went back in. This was just like I woke up and I'm like, well, shit. And I was really proud for a moment there because I held that space for myself. I trusted myself enough to go that deep and know that I was safe in this container I created with the wisdom and experience and trust I have in myself. So, that kind of wraps things up. Sorry. Just had some NPC talk on this game I have open. Yeah, I think that kind of about sums it up. Deeper level of trust in myself for allowing myself to go into the most deep transpersonal space I've been in alone. Realizing vitality is a choice, not just through habits and structure and order, but I can summon it in any moment. And it is greatly facilitated by my environment, such as music. To be held by nature, to know that I am in the most supportive natural environment there is, and to feel at a visceral level my connection with this planet. We might not be from here entirely. We might be the strangest animal on this planet because we have a capacity to actually harm it, Look for that in any other species. This is what makes me think that we might not be completely of this planet, but we have a connection with it for sure. I feel that. We are here for a good reason. So yeah, that's it. This is the longest video I've ever shared, and I used to like poo-poo on people who did long videos on Instagram. I'm like, who the hell watches these things? But I see that people do, so hopefully this reaches some of you and you enjoy it. This is my first trip report. Expect more to come. Maybe one later this week when I do a deep dive with mushrooms. Journey well, friends. Thanks for being here with me.